Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Viewers, this is Taranjeet Singh. I'm the co-founder of Innvocon and also your host for the podcast series, The Big Brains, wherein we discuss with the leaders, HR leaders, team builders, and the ecosystem enablers about their views, their point of views on team building, on entrepreneurship, and building great businesses and workplace cultures. So, on this occasion of the World Entrepreneurs Day, I have a very special guest with me today for our sixth episode, Naman Singhal, and he is the Chief Executive Officer of the AIC at the Indian School of Business. Welcome, Naman, and I hope we will have a great chat today during our course of interaction.
Yeah, thanks, Taranjeet. Thank you so much for inviting me for this. I'm honored, and you guys are doing a fantastic job. Invocon in general is doing really well, and I believe this series is also very unique, which you've positioned. So I'm sure we'll have a fantastic conversation here.
Sure. So we will start with a bit of your background, Naman. That I see means after your MBA from IIM Calcutta, you had a great stints at Ola, then Niti Aayog, then Geo Institute. And how did this transition happen from uh, core corporate to now jumping to become an ecosystem enabler in one of the finest and leading one of the finest incubators in India?
Oh, great. Taranjeet, I am going to take some time in responding to this. Talking about my journey, I started from Ola at a time when Ola was right at the cusp of expansion. And, I consider myself very lucky that I was at Ola at that time because I got to experience a multifold growth environment of a very high decibel startup, which was India's one of the first unicorns of the country.
Yeah.
And I got to experience it while being there. And working in a startup environment entails you do not stick to your regular set of duties as such. You have to go beyond. You have to mingle with other teams and figure out your way and essentially grow your line of business.
Right.
So I did that for almost 2 years, and I gained a lot of beautiful experiences from my time at Ola. After that, I went on to join Niti Aayog in the Atal Innovation Mission, which was fostering entrepreneurship and innovation across the length and breadth of the country. And as part of that, I was a member in the Atal Incubation Centers team.
Fantastic.
What we were trying to do was establish 100 incubators in the country, and that was the first time I got an exposure to the incubation ecosystem, the country's startup ecosystem, from a very central point of view.
Right.
And again, luckily, we were just at the time when incubation centers in India, in general, were a very new thing. They still are. But
Absolutely.
this I'm talking about 6 years back, and we were trying to give it a boost from the government side. So I got an exposure towards the incubation side from there, and post that I went on to join the Reliance Group, and we were building a university called Geo Institute, and that was a very interesting experience for the last 4 years where I was working in the project team for building the university. I was actually the first formal hire for the project itself on the payrolls of the parent entity, and
Fantastic.
and by virtue of that, again, um, it was meant that I got to do everything which came my way, right from setting up the academic programs to setting up the governance to statutory compliances to actually building the brand architecture of the university from scratch and then translating it into different arenas. So And then, just about 3 months back, I've joined the Atal Incubation Center at ISB. So what I've realized is that while I have worked in a startup, in the government, in the private entity, in all of these experiences, I have worked in the startup teams, so to say. So my experience at Niti Aayog was also, in a way, it was a startup environment back then.
Yeah.
While we were under the Reliance umbrella, Geo Institute itself was a new entity that was taking birth, for that matter. So it's been very interesting. I've had different experiences of different sectors, but the transition was pretty natural, because I've seen the incubation side, as I said, from a central point of view, and now it is my fortune that I'm getting to lead one from the front. So it's been very interesting, and overall it's been amazing.
Absolutely. So again, something related to ISB itself. Means how is it like working with Professor Bhagwan Chaudhary and Soumya sir? I mean, Soumya sir, I had met him a couple of times at ISB and had a brief discussion about. Means I believe he's a stalwart at with HR. He has led global HR operations for Ola as well. So, means I had a chance to discuss what we are doing, what we had been doing, and take up his point of view on that part as well. So, how is it working with means people like Soumya Kumar and Professor Bhagwan Chaudhary?
See, it's very interesting, Taranjeet. These people you're talking about, they are stalwarts, and they are, some of the biggest names in their industries, right?
Right,
Professor Bhagwan Chaudhary, in terms of, he might be one of the very few very great professors of finance across the world, right? And before joining here, we used to, when I was working with Niti Aayog also, we used to, look for opportunities when he would come to Niti Aayog, and we would get a chance to be in the same room that he is. And now when I'm getting a chance to work with him, it is fantastic. He is an exceptional professor. He's the amount of clarity that he has is phenomenal, right? You go to him with a certain proposition, saying that, hey prof, I want to do 1 2 3 activities, and then he would question you on a particular thing, and then eventually, after the conversation, you yourself feel that you're more clearer than where you were. So it's
exactly.
very interesting with Prof. With Soumya, as you rightly said, Soumya is a great person to work with. He's got tremendous experience in talent acquisition and building teams in general. I think he's spent about 17 years over there, if not more. I think he brings amazing skill sets to the table. He has a great understanding on building the team here. So the iVenture team that we have at ISB, uh, practically, he and Professor Bhagwan are the ones who've built the team, and
Right,
it's an amazing culture that we have here. So I'm sure you've had great experiences with Soumya, on, because you are anyway leading Invocon, which is into HR. So I'm sure your conversations with Soumya would be far more enriching.
absolutely,
But what I can say is, fantastic people to work with, fantastic clarity that everybody has, great intent, and with that, great sense of how things to be done.
absolutely.
So it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So something on that part means being associated with AIC-ISB since so long. So my question is um, how does the incubator or ISB specifically, how do you assess the compatibility between an entrepreneur's vision and the resources or the network or the mentors or any sort of resources that AIC-ISB has at its disposal. So how do you assess that compatibility between the two entities?
Very nice. I think Taranjeet, this is a great question, and this every day we get applications in different programs that we are doing, and it's a pride for us to say that we are very quality conscious. And by quality conscious, one side is obviously you scout for founders who are passionate about building their own ventures.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, it is also an onus on us to realize, are we in the right spot to actually help the founder who's seeking help from us, right? So there are, I can say that a few things here. So one of the things that we do really well is immediately after taking down the applications, we spend a series of calls with the founder themselves to not only understand the legitimacy of the application. I mean, that is a very preliminary kind of a step, but in the conversations that we have, we also try to understand what are their needs, what is the kind of support they are looking for in general, uh, what stage of startup they are in right now, and where do they aspire to be. And accordingly, then we kind of list down very clearly that these are the 5 6 things where they need help. Now, at the back end, I know the kind of capabilities that my incubator has. I know the kind of mentors I have. I know the kind of investor networks I have. I also know the kind of partners I have in my network. So essentially, then it becomes easier for me to start doing the matchmaking. So that's why, spending good amount of time with the startups to understand their needs is very important. In fact, we have been doing a lot of cohorts. In fact, you yourself are a part of our SaaS cohort, which was done last year. So you know that right after closing the applications till the starting of the program, we generally take about 3 weeks or so, and those 3 weeks are well spent in actually understanding the startup and then
Yes.
mapping to the resources that we have here.
Absolutely. So I'll second your thought on the type of quality of the applications that ISB accepts. No second thoughts about that. And I also remember my initial calls. So I guess I had 4 rounds of call, three with Isha and one with Harshit. The first call was with Harshit, and followed by other calls with Isha. So means you have experience and means you're yourself a graduate of AM Calcutta. So, what difference do you see? Means what specifically ISB in terms of fostering innovation or entrepreneurship, of pushing their own students towards becoming the employment generator or employers? Um, how ISB is doing these things? What sets ISB apart from the other top-notch institutes?
Right. I think it would be unfair to compare it with the other B schools in general. I think in today's time, each B school is trying to identify their own way of engaging their students.
Yes,
I can tell you what we are doing and where we are actually different.
right.
So ISB has a club actually, which is called EVC, which is the Entrepreneurs and Venture Capitalists Club of ISB, and this is like any other club. Okay, so you have consulting club, you have finance club, etc. and they keep doing their activity. So what we do now under iVenture at ISB, we have started to work very closely with the students themselves, starting with the EVC club, and now we are trying to expand into other clubs also. One part of it is to understand or actually figure out where is it that I can start involving students. So we've got a lot of
Right.
interest from the PGP cohort. We've got interest from the other advanced management cohorts where they would want to understand the activities that are going on in the incubation and entrepreneurship space. And one side of it is actually to get them involved to see how beautiful this area is and how they can be a part of some of the activities that we do now. I'm trying to expose a lot of students to the pitch days, to the demo days that we are conducting here, and this is in general kind of giving them an exposure to how this side of industry works. The second thing is, how do you get students to pursue entrepreneurship, right? So we at under iVenture at ISP, we have a program called iSprout, where we invite, and it is specifically for the ISB students, where we kind of roll out applications for submitting ideas. And depending on the quality of the ideas, we start by supporting the students who've got really good ideas and who would want to build ventures around that. And even if that means to the tune of 1 lakh per month is what we give to the student for actually working on their ideas.
Right.
So this is one activity, and any other, you know, we're trying to kind of associate a lot with students. One side is awareness. The second side is also complementing them with a series of activities like iSprout, like involving them with our programs.
Fantastic. So now the series of questions that I have, they are somewhat directed towards team building. So your experiences of directly and indirectly team building at Niti Aayog, leading to the 100 AICs in India, and ultimately building the entire team right from scratch, leading the project at Geo Institute. So, what are the core differences between a government entity, building the team for a government entity, directly or indirectly, and then building it for a private entity like Geo Institute?
That's very interesting, Taranjeet. So, in government, things are still a little, simpler. I'll tell you why. Because in government, typically in the kind of role that we were in, you're onboarded as a consultant, right? And with government, you have a 2-year contract, which is extendable up to 5 years. There's a good amount of salary cut that you go to working in this organization for, which translates to saying that whoever is working over there is coming in with a great amount of passion.
Absolutely, right.
And that is their driving force. So you don't have the traditional career hierarchies, you don't have the traditional appraisal cycles as such. uh, if you are joining from the consultant route in the government. So that's why the people that we had there, our main objective was to get people who want to be in the entrepreneurship and innovation space, with saying that we want to have a diverse team, right?
Yeah,
So in my team itself, I came with a WorkX from Ola. Somebody else came from a WorkX from an incubation center. The third person was a graduate of MIT. The fourth person was a maker. So he used to run a maker facility somewhere in Maharashtra,
right.
and then he joined. The fifth person was an economist. We had, the other person was a PhD from NTU Singapore, where
Fantastic.
he had done something on the bus systems and all. So what I'm trying to tell you is that the common goal was entrepreneurship and innovation. The team was very diverse, right? Now, talking about Geo Institute, that is where I actually got to hire some of the talent and see how the team building works. Um, in in Geo Institute in particular, we were very conscious about the cultural match.
Yeah.
So, because there was a certain, level of culture that we wanted to set up in the company right from the beginning. So, and we were mostly hiring for non-academic staff in the beginning. So, it was important that people are again very aligned towards working in higher education, and at the same time they attribute they kind of possess a lot of cultural similarities to the rest of the team that was there. So that was, and it went across, right from the interns we were hiring to the senior managers to the associate directors who we were getting on board, that the cultural similarities have to be there. um, the other thing was also to kind of where I think Reliance in general is doing really well, uh, was also to uh, make it a packaged deal of sorts, right? Where if I can explain it in this manner, that we were not only employing an individual, we were kind of saying that we are getting your family onboarded with us,
Right.
right? So that was a very beautiful thing. And Reliance in general, what my experience was, we used to spend about 60 to 70% of the time on the personals than the hardcore, professional skills. So that was
Yes.
a very, very interesting hiring environment.
Yeah, uh, absolutely, without a doubt. And my question, something again means it came out of my curiosity. Means you talked about ensuring that the candidate incoming is fit according to the culture of the company. That's what we, at the core of Invocon, we are working on it. So, my question is, how do you ensure that? Means technical
Hmm.
skills or the past experiences, that's one thing that can be precisely matched or maybe can be mapped while during a conversation during the interview. How do you ensure within those initial round of interviews or the conversation that the candidate who will be a probable employee will be a culture fit and this won't be a bad hiring decision altogether?
That's a great question, and I think I'm still very young to figure this out. But I will tell you from whatever I've experienced so far. I'll give you an example. So let's say you have to work with, you are hiring your immediate subordinate for that matter, and subordinate, by subordinate I mean only in terms of the laid down hierarchy,
Yeah,
not in the traditional sense, right?
right,
Essentially this is going to be the person who will kind of take the work from you, and the job of that person is to come up with, let's say, some ideas or some proposals which you can
right,
further take to the management or higher management. Now in doing so, what are the kind of attributes you require? One, you require somebody who has a decent level of research skills,
right,
right? That is number one. Number two, on the culture, and these will kind of coincide with the cultural attributes also. So one is, let's say I'm looking for somebody who possesses research skills. Number two, I'm looking for person who is flexible, right? So let's say somebody spends uh, 10 days working on a proposal, and they've done all the research, they're done their homework, and they come to you with a certain proposal. So they are coming with a lot of more knowledge than you would ever have about that particular thing.
right,
But if you look at it from a fresh angle, you would say, hey, can you, while you've looked at these 10 things, can you look at it from a different angle and give me, a certain different kind of an output with a different approach, whatever.
right,
That's where I'm talking about the openness to feedback, right? Because ultimately this person you're hiring is going to be working with you, so you want to check whether this person is ready to take your feedback and then go work on these things. So these are some things that in initial three to almost 2 to 3 conversations you try to figure these things out. So research skills you can find out by let's say looking at their experience, what is the uh, kind of work they've put in the resume, and then you go into the detail of finding out okay, so if you've written ABC, then do you know the PQR and XYZ of those activities or not, right? So you go into the detail and check those things out. On the openness to feedback aspect, you can do a case round with them, and while they are solving the case, you can start arguing with them to see if they are comfortable uh, with kind of taking feedback. Also, they are comfortable at listening,
Right.
because listening is another attribute that is very important in positions where you're starting your career, or you're at a place where you have to seek work from your employer. So all of those things were very interesting, and they were well evaluated. And through these uh, okay, so through these conversations, which were not only just 15-20 minutes long, but we used to typically have conversations which lasted almost 30 or 45 minutes for that matter. And that's when you start getting a sense of the personality you're hiring.
Absolutely. Again, a question that revolves around Geo Institute. Means I'm a great fan of how Reliance operates actually. So means Geo Institute, if we see it while you joined, it was still a startup in the initial phases of its operationability. You've worked with multiple startups while in your stint at Niti Aayog, now at AIC-ISB. So, what do the startups they get wrong about team building? Means while building the team from scratch, what do the startups they get wrong, and that you did or you were supported by Reliance? So, what did you did right that other early stage startups they actually do wrong and don't get it right?
Well, see, it's a difficult question actually, but I'll try to address it in two parts. Number one, what was it about Geo Institute? So it was a startup within the Reliance, the way we used to look at it. However, it was driven by chairman's office directly. So there was no, going back on this, or there was no point of, saying that we are still evaluating or something. Having said that, a lot of systems, a lot of processes, a lot of the work that we were doing had to be of the topmost quality, and had to be of the level that could be passed from the chairman's office. So that was one. Now, coming to the startup side of it, my general understanding in whatever time I've spent with the startups in the initial stages, one is clarity on your B plan itself. So a lot of very early stage founders, you hear these days, you hear a lot of people saying that we pivoted from one thing to another. And
Yes.
then I also met a startup who said I've pivoted almost 15 times by now.
My God.
But so that is only a learning curve, unless you decide and you are finally able to say that, hey, this is the product or this is the service that I'm offering. So that that becomes the starting point. The second is, and a lot of people are saying this, and I believe you are in the right space to kind of address some of that issue, is hiring people who are kind of aligned with the vision or aligned with the product that you're building,
Right.
right? And in the early stages it becomes very difficult, because if you're there are times when there are people who want to take advantage of you. There are times when you don't have enough time to invest in identifying the right talent. um, with the speed that you want to achieve, you just get anybody on board who can go on to deliver a particular task. You might invest a lot in, not a lot, but you might evaluate a person only on core technical skills and leave their personal side hanging. And then you realize later on that a person does not fit with the culture or has some personality issues, all of
Yes.
those things. So I'm saying team needs to be given its due recognition. And with that, it is very important that while you are building the team, you need to be very objective in terms of defining that these are the five attributes that I'm looking for, both professional and personal. And you will only hire the people who will match these personal these five attributes.
Absolutely. So, again, something that we have in common, the city, Mohali. So,
Hmm.
your take on the development of entrepreneurship or quality startups coming out of tier two cities or maybe tier three cities like Chandigarh and Mohali or the likes of these. So, what's your take on this?
Oh, see, I have moved from Navi Mumbai to Chandigarh, and I am extremely bullish on this region to become a startup ecosystem in the times that are going to come. We have, so on one side, you need to have the relevant government support. On one side, you need to have necessary infrastructure in place. On the other side, you have to have ecosystem players who will nurture the startups. And the biggest piece is actually the startups, right? The talent which is there in the city. So I think we are blessed with almost uh, 7 to 10 great engineering colleges. We've got great R&D institutions. We've got um, great management institutions. I think we have the necessary infrastructure also. IT City is coming up near
Yes.
the airport, right? And there are also new age institutions which are developing in the region. I'm sure there will be a lot more talent which is coming to the state in general. It is only a matter of time that many of these ideas will start seeing the light of the day. As an ecosystem player, it is my duty to do my best in terms of the quality of services that I have to offer, and in terms of nurturing the startups who are coming to me for support. So I think, and there are enough players here also, right? So I'm very sure this region is bound to grow. At least I have my bets on this. In the next 4 to 5 years, I see that some really good startups will come out of Mohali and and Punjab in general.
Yes. So, again, a question that means I had been very speculating about it. So while we build the ecosystem within tier two or tier three cities, and it's equally important that we bring or try to attract the talent to these cities. So means it's easier to get a job or get or attract quality talent in Delhi NCR than attracting it to Chandigarh, the Tri-City region. So, how do we do that? And means both things. How can we take it simultaneously? Attracting great talent at the same time, not compromising with our vision of building a startup ecosystem around the likes of Chandigarh.
Right, that's a beautiful question, Taranjeet. I think a lot of people within the ecosystem are trying to solve for it. But let me just highlight the problem itself. Okay, so why do you think if there are people who are starting their ventures here, even if they are starting their ventures here, why do they eventually have to shift to a more established ecosystem, let's say
Right.
in Gurgaon or in Bangalore or in Hyderabad? The reason is, even and you are a founder based in Punjab, so you would appreciate merit in this, that even if as a founder, you are there. When you're looking for your employee number three, employee number four, you will have to, move to places that are outside of Punjab, at least in the current scenario. So you will have to go scout for somebody in Bangalore or in Delhi for that matter. And then you will have to go head over heels in convincing them to come to this part of India.
Right.
Why? Because you do not have that level of experiences here. But having said that, a lot of it will improve once you have the IT city, once you have a lot of other corporates coming in, and that's when, in general, while there will be a lot of inflow from the other parts of the country in terms of talent, there will also be a lot of opportunities being created for the people, for the new graduates who are coming out of the great institutions that we have in this region, right?
Absolutely.
So, how do you? It will be very interesting to see how through the startups we are able to retain the talent which is getting produced in the region. And I'm very sure that the startups have a far crucial role to play in this particular aspect.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Um, Coming back to something related to incubation, your experiences with Niti Aayog now at AIC-ISB, what's your take and how do you see technology playing a role in enabling growth in the incubation as an industry? Means incubation as a altogether as a sector wherein we could attract startups as a customer or a consumer. Means apart from being just being an enabler, how can we develop incubation or startup acceleration as an industry altogether, and at the same time attract some great talent? So what's your take on technology playing that role?
See, I think technology in all spheres is very important, and it goes without saying. In incubation, in particular, what I saw about 6 to 7 years back, we were focused very heavily on getting startups physically incubated at these incubators, and there was a reason for that because the idea of incubation in general was to provide physical spaces, which meant access to a working space,
Right.
access to labs, access to prototyping facilities, etc. The idea of incubation now, I think, with the digital technologies has also expanded, right?
Yeah.
I can offer a lot of my services virtually than I would want to do it physically, right? I can, in fact, my the applications for the next cohort are also live, and I'm seeing applications coming in from all parts of the country. So that is number one. Number two, when I'm doing the program, it is much easier and impactful for me to connect startups who are stationed anywhere in the country to a professor who's based, let's say, out of the country, right? And which is my strength as ISB. So it is, digital technologies have actually revolutionized the way we looked at some sectors, the way we talked about incubation in general. In fact, interestingly, I would also encourage you to see a very recent video that Professor Bhagwan Chaudhary has posted
Yes, I did.
on the evolution of digital technology. So I think it's very interesting. For incubation, of course, the biggest change that I've seen is moving from a very physical focus to now saying that okay, virtual incubation also has merit and also has a lot of impact.
Right. Absolutely. Again, a question on the similar grounds means while you stint at Niti Aayog and now at ISB, what are the shifts in the trends that you've seen in terms of quality of startups, also in terms of quantity of startups coming out of from across the country, every region of the country?
See, quantity by far it has improved because we all know that you can look at the stats of Startup India. You can check what were the numbers back in 2016, 2017, and the numbers we are talking now. There are unicorns being built every week, every month. Every influencer is talking about the quantity being developed. I think the quality also is something that has improved big time. Um, in general, the quality of applications. I mean, I was just 2 days back. I was doing the evaluations for another cohort on food and agri that we plan to launch, and I was amazed by. And I just got like five to do evaluation for five out of, let's say, 100 that we received. And I was finding it difficult to say no to any of those, and that's the level of quality that we have achieved, right? And versus almost 4 years, 5 years back, when we used to do the evaluations. Even at Niti Aayog Atal Innovation Mission, we had launched a program of Atal New India Challenges,
Yeah.
and in there also, it was so treat it this way, right? We've come a long way. Why I say this? Because from a time when I used to pick one out of many, I'm now rejecting one out of many. So
Yeah.
so that's
Tables
the
have turned.
level of quality. Yes.
Yeah. So, last question. Maybe the viewers, aspiring entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs right now and across the sectors, the question is for them. What's the most exciting thing happening right now at AIC-ISB, and what are the plans for startups across India to welcome them at AIC-ISB and probably Mohali?
Great. Thanks, Taranjeet. I think it's a great question to be at last. So talking about the exciting things, I'm personally very excited. It's been about 2.5, 3 months for me, but the level of excitement is going up every day. So number one, we are in the process of calling for applications for our clean tech acceleration cohort. The deadline is 31st of August, and we have got some fantastic mentors, fantastic partners on board. Uh, we also have great VCs who will be associated right from the beginning. So that's a unique model that we are trying to explore. That is number one. Number two, we are literally tomorrow we are beginning a cohort on social impact accelerator. Um, we have about 7 to 8 startups there, and they begin their 3 month or 6 month journey starting tomorrow. The third thing is a program that we are planning to launch for the engineering students, the bachelor's and master's degree students in 15 colleges of Chandigarh, Panchkula, and Mohali, and the nearby areas. And we are calling it a tech entrepreneurship program where we are looking for ideas which these students have. So we are going to start a program which nurtures these people and says that, hey, you can have a career in entrepreneurship. What else? There are great events to look out for. We are soon associating with a lot of CSRs to see the impact that we can create in that space, and many more events which will be upcoming in the near future. So it's a very, very exciting space that we are in, along with the traditional programs. One interesting piece that also we are going to begin is, let's say any startup comes to us from any part of the country and they want to associate with us. uh, we are now developing a community engagement model where we get them on board and we provide them with some of our services. And this is a longish community engagement that I'm trying to build, and this goes beyond typical program level engagement. So very, very interesting stuff happening, and a lot of activities that you'll see in the near future.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can second that on that. And the people who are currently viewing this, they can take my words as a testimonial, without a doubt. So thanks, Naman. Great having you on the show, and I believe getting an ecosystem enabler was a plus plus for us on this Entrepreneurs Day, World Entrepreneurs Day. We usually hear the stories from the people who have built teams, who have built the startups, but the people who are enabling or pushing the startup ecosystem in India, the people like you. So I believe it's equally important to shed a light on your contributions to building India as a right now as a third largest startup ecosystem in the world. So thanks a lot. It was pleasure having you and hosting you on this show. Great insights, and I believe our viewers, especially the entrepreneurs who are looking out for support and venturing out or shifting to Chandigarh, Mohali, and would obviously check out on the supports and the services provided by AIC-ISB.
Absolutely. Thanks, Taranjeet. This was a great conversation. And I wish you and Invocon all the best. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for inviting me on the World Entrepreneurs Day. It's a great privilege. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.